Harry's Wife, Part 104.71. Invictus photo for Remembrance Day. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. In Parts Passim earlier, 104.65, there was a suggestion that there might have been some Photoshop jiggery-pokery going on in order to make it look like Harry and Harry's wife were in attendance at some form of memorial service or appropriate ceremony for both Veterans Day and Remembrance Day. And in the photo that was provided, many people observed that, first of all, Harry's wife is wearing white, which is a big no-no, and that Harry isn't wearing a poppy, and he hasn't got a tie on, and that people immediately said, hang on a second, this is from the Invictus appearance that they made earlier on in the year. And therefore, hang on a second, what's all this about? What's going on here? What's all this then, as Dixon of Dock Green might just say? It suggested perhaps that there was a ceremony that had taken place in relation to Remembrance Day, or more likely because it's in the United States, appertaining to Veterans Day, and that they've been photoshopped in. Well, actually, further examination reveals that that's not quite the case, but there does appear to have been some chicanery going on. Now, first of all, let's have a look at the original photograph. And this is the photograph that appeared on the Archwell site. So there is the picture that you've all seen, showing some US military personnel with stars and stripes, another individual saluting them, and members of the audience, including Harry and Harry's wife, all stood there also, and provided in black and white. As you can see, Remembrance Day. So the clear impression that this picture creates is that they have attended some form of ceremony for Remembrance Day, and that picture was taken there. Now, what's evident is that the material that they've provided doesn't actually state where they were attending, because it would appear they haven't actually attended anything at all. Yes, whilst giving the impression that they've attended something, but not actually expressly stating that, what's happened is they haven't attended anything together, they haven't appeared at any ceremony jointly, and instead, what has happened is Harry's wife has brought up the past, indeed using an Invictus photograph. And you will see on the screen that we have the colour version, which there was a video analysis where Harry's wife comforted an emotional Prince Harry as he watched the Invictus ceremony. And we can see now the colour comparison of the people that were all there stood facing the way, the lady in the grey dress, the gentleman with the beard and the sunglasses, the lady with the green jacket on, and the lady with the red jacket on, all appearing there. And you'll also see another photograph taken involving some of those people that were outside, which is the US delegation that the Sussexes met. And a further photograph showing them, this time applauding, and the lady in red missing at that juncture, must have popped off to do something else. So it demonstrates, of course, the fact that this picture was indeed taken from the Invictus Games, and shows that it's been rehashed. So it's not a case of there being any actual Photoshop jiggery-pokery in terms of shunting them in to a picture that actually took place, but all that they've done is use a picture which was from the Invictus Games to make it look like they were actually attending some kind of Memorial Day, some Veterans Day service. They've been careful enough not to state specifically where they were, so they could say, well, we didn't expressly state that we were at this ceremony. But the clear impression is, from that picture being used on Archwell, is to say, we were together, we attended a ceremony, whereas actually that wasn't the case. This, of course, has fueled further speculation that there is some kind of split taken place. After all, Harry, being a member of the armed forces at one point, surely would ensure that he would attend Remembrance Day. Whilst his father, the King, led the commemorations in Britain for the very first time, laying a wreath at the cenotaph, and other members of the royal family being in attendance on this most important of days to remember the fallen, what was Harry doing? Why wasn't he at some form of ceremony? Well, it transpires that he may well have been, because none other than Hello sort of comes to his rescue by telling us in an article by Gemma Strong, Prince Harry makes surprise appearance as royals gather on Remembrance Sunday. Harry's wife's husband was spotted by onlookers. The British royal family were out in force as they attended the first Remembrance Sunday since the death of the Queen. King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla led the solemn occasion, which was attended by the Prince and Princess of Wales, the Earl and Countess of Wessex, and Princess Anne. Across the pond, meanwhile, another royal also made a poignant outing, Prince Harry. Harry, 38, was spotted by surprised onlookers in Hawaii as he paid a visit to the USS Arizona Memorial at Pearl Harbor on Friday. And you will see that there are pictures of him attending. And he was there for Veterans Day on his own. Dressed smartly in a suit, Harry appeared to be on his own for the outing. Harry's wife, Archie and Lilibet, were nowhere to be seen. But he spent time talking to the families who were also visiting the memorial on that day. Harry's outing coincided with Veterans Day in the United States, which is observed annually in the United States on the 11th of November, the same time the United Kingdom observes Remembrance Day. Veterans Day is a federal holiday in America honouring military veterans of the United States Armed Forces and dates back to the end of World War I. The Remembrance Day military holiday is particularly close to Prince Harry's heart, as he served as a captain in the British Army. During his 10-year service, the Duke carried out 2 frontline tours of Afghanistan. Harry and Harry's wife shared a moving message on their Archwell website to mark the occasion. It read, "On this Veterans Day and Remembrance Day, we honour service members across the world. These brave men and women, as well as their families, have made tremendous sacrifices and embody duty and service. We are proud to work with so many organisations that support veterans and military families, including the Invictus Games Foundation. The mission continues. Team Rubicon, Scottish Little Soldiers and the Greatest Generations Foundation. Today and every day, thank you for your service." Naturally, Archwell needed to utilise, through Harry's wife, making this about her and the involvement with all of the things that she does by virtue of facade management, because that's what a narcissist would do. But it's also telling, isn't it, that Prince Harry pops up in Hawaii, of all places, on his own. Nevertheless, the PR function needs to make it look like they're doing something jointly, and in what could be labelled as misinformation, posts an old picture on the Archwell site to make it look like they are together attending a service, when actually they're not. Harry is in Hawaii on his own. Why is that? Had enough of her? Staying away from her? Running away from her? Only time will tell. But also it's notable, of course, that Harry's wife is nowhere to be seen. So much for her caring about service, etc., that she couldn't bother her backside to turn up at an appropriate service in relation to Veterans Day. As we know, if she had done, it would be plastered all over the place because she'd ensure the Paps would have been informed about her attendance. So what do we learn from all of this? Well, it demonstrates again her thirst through the prime aims for publicity, which allows her to assert control, manage the facade and draw fuel. It also demonstrates that she's quite content to play fast and loose with information, staying just this side of out-and-out telling fib, but nevertheless clearly misleading people, as so many people thought the picture showed that the two of them were together at a service as and then, at that moment. And now people realise it's an old photograph that's been used to make it look like they are together. Is this being done to try and paper over the fact that they are not together? Is it being done to maintain a facade that the Sussexes are united, when in actual fact they're not? The evidence seems to suggest that they're not, given the fact that 1, an old photograph had to be used, 2, Harry's wife didn't bother to turn up at anything, and 3, Harry was seen on his own. The evidence continues to mount. And it may well be the case that this does demonstrate that Harry is away from her. It might only be a temporary measure, but the reports of them being together seem rather thin on the ground. There was the supposed eating out at the Duchess restaurant with no pictures, which really smacked of PR piffle, going on about how lovely they were. Why need to advertise the fact that they've gone on a date night when it doesn't appear that they actually have done so? There was, of course, the appearance at the JJ concert, which gave me the impression, actually, that Harry had gone there on his own and she'd followed him and turned up, pawing and clawing at him. Other sightings, none. And now he's on his own, on Remembrance, on Veterans Day, rather, and she's nowhere to be seen. This bears further scrutiny, but it does show, of course, the manner by which her narcissism needs to project the idea that they're still together by, in effect, misleading people with the photograph that appeared. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for watching.